Is your boyfriend, husband, partner the center of your world? Do you lift him up and support him more than you support yourself? Do you find yourself neglecting your goals, your dreams for your partner? Do you think that you need a man in order to live an abundant life? Hi everyone, welcome back to Your Welcome. Happy Friday. I'm so excited to be here per usual. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that I've talked about in segments on my episodes, and it is honestly a hot topic in today's world, especially as women are learning to focus more on themselves and assert themselves and advocate for themselves and are just really shifting gears, and that is decentering men. Now, decentering men doesn't mean that like you don't want a man, you don't need a man, but it just basically means like that your man is in the center of your world. And so I really want to get into this topic and just talk about how I've been able to reflect on my past behaviors, especially when I was dating, and just redefined what success looks like for me and how I'm preparing myself now that I'm single for the partner that I really desire. I used to think that the only way that I could have the life of my dreams, and that doesn't mean not going after your dream guy, of course, but I just thought in terms of success, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of having the material things that I wanted and the life that I wanted, driving the car that I wanted, having the house that I wanted, all these things, I thought that I needed a man in order to have it. And truth be told, sometimes I still struggle with those thoughts. And this is why I wanted to bring up this conversation, because I still find myself reshifting my thoughts. And I used to tell myself like life would just be so much easier if I had a man who could take on some of the burdens for me, or if I had a man that was able to do that or this or that. And you know, that still is not like irrelevant, obviously. Like a man should be able to protect and provide in that way. And that's honestly just my opinion. That doesn't mean like that's the way that you have to live your life, but I've always just veered towards men who were protective and providers. But in doing that, I also realized like that I want to also have my own life, and not just friends and activities that I enjoy, but also have my own success and pour that energy into me instead of thinking that I have to receive that from a man. So now, instead of telling myself, if I had a 2-income household, I could do so much more, and I tell myself, I can find more ways to make more money, point blank period, because I don't have the relationship of my dreams. And truth be told, I'm not gonna settle for just anything. You know, I'm 34, I'm single. I recently, or not recently, but at the beginning of last year, ended a very long and tumultuous relationship. And by doing that, I feel freer and I feel independent. And I feel like a lot of how I even got to the space of being able to have the courage to break up with my ex. And of course that wasn't easy. Like, we were together for 4 years. Like, that's not easy. But by decentering him from my life was the beginning of me catapulting myself into, wait, hold on, like I matter too. Like, I can build myself up too. It doesn't just have to be a man's money that is giving me the life that I want. And another truth be told, to be honest, I learned that the hard way. I had not only one tumultuous relationship, but two relationships in which I depended on a man for my lifestyle. My ex before this one, I call it my grand ex, and people laugh when I say that, but it just, if you get it, you get it. If you know, I think I just made that up. But next before that, he gave me a pretty nice lifestyle. Like, I had a debit card, I had a car, like all these things provided for by him. I didn't have to pay rent, you know, all of that. But at what cost? Like, at what cost? That relationship was so dramatic. And at the end of the day, he basically left me for dead. When I say left for dead, he just didn't care. He didn't care about my well-being. When he wanted to be done, he was done. And that really taught me like, okay, like I need to put my big girl panties on and get back into the flow of my own life. And I created, you know, that was the beginning of me really creating or feeling like, okay, I've got to make my own money. I've got to have my own money. And my ex, like recently, I started real estate, I think in like 2021, and I had stopped waitressing and medical billing. So like which I will never do again as well. Like, advice, like if you're starting a business, unless you have the nervous system to handle like the jump and what that jump means for your finances or anything like that, or you're just well prepared with clientele already and money coming in, keep your hustles, but that's a whole nother story. But in general, I trusted him more. And yes, I had a savings account, all of that, but at the end of the day, he still essentially did the same thing. Like, it ended badly the first time, and of course we got back together, and at that point I had my own place. And my grandma literally said, like, don't you move back in with a man. Don't you do that until you guys are way more established, and make sure you always have your own. And that's something my mom has instilled in my brain, especially after the prior breakup, was like, make sure you have your own. Make sure that India is always taken care of. And I realized, like, okay, like, I always thought, like, you know, maybe I'll just be a housewife. Like, maybe I'll just like raise kids and my husband will be successful. But I in that realized it's still important to have your own. And of course, I'm not a wife. I'm not a girlfriend no longer. You know, I don't have a partner, but I just find it so important for a woman to have her own. Because even in my old relationship, like, my ex never made me feel that way. Like, he was, if anything, mostly generous, and thus it was bad, of course. But the ex before that, like, I remember like being at the grocery store and using his debit card and it not working, and having to call him and ask him if he could please put like money in the account. I just thought, like, oh, maybe the account doesn't have money. No, he was putting stipulations on limits on how much I could spend per day, and I was maybe spending like $100 at Trader Joe's. Like, that's crazy. So in that, I also realized, like, no, I need to make my own money. I can't have a relationship in which my lifestyle is dependent on a man's income and I have to ask that man for money. Like, no, that doesn't work for me. And that doesn't mean it doesn't work for other people. And I think in a healthy relationship where the husband cares about the wife's well-being, that situations like that wouldn't happen. But even then, like, what if your husband loses his job? What if your partner loses their job? What if something happens to them and they pass away, and you find out that they're in thousands of dollars in debt and you actually have nothing, you know? Like, situations like that really happen. And so even in that, I encourage women to have their own. And I remember one of my best friends even told me, like, you have to always have your own. And the more you have your own, the more you even attract the men that you really desire, because you're a mirror. Everything mirrors back to you the way you feel about yourself. And I always knew that having a provider man was important to me, but I also dealt with insecurities surrounding that, not feeling good enough, not feeling like I was worthy of that. And so the men that I was attracting that were providers did do the things that I asked them to do, or not even asked them to do, because it's not like I asked men to do anything. They're offering it, but I realized it came from a space of insecurity. It came from a space of resentment versus like desire and generosity. And I realized I was attracting that because I didn't feel worthy myself. I didn't feel like I brought anything to the table. Like, yes, like outwardly I would say, like, oh, I bring so much to the table. Like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. Like, I will build you up. I will encourage you on your whatever career journey. But in the inside, I realized I was really not knowing my worth and disvaluing, and that's not really a word, or just not valuing truly what I brought to the table. So therefore, I accepted behaviors oftentimes that if I had my own money and my own everything, I would have never accepted. I would have walked away from so fast. And that's another lesson. It's when you have your own, you can easily walk away from it, from a man or whatever, because you're like, I'll be good regardless. Like, I don't need that man's income to manage my lifestyle, to pay my bills. I do that all on my own. I have my own stuff going on. I don't need his. And that is honestly one of the most freeing feelings. And being single is, of course, I desire a partner, like I said, but being single has really taught me, like, I'm not gonna settle for a man just because. At this point in my life, I'm 34, I don't have any kids. I offer way more than I even did a year ago, than I did prior years to that. Like, I'm not just gonna settle for any man. At this point, like, I'm so focused on myself, improving myself, my career, my life, that if a man is going to come into it, that he has to offer, and not only just providing financially, he has to provide peace, he has to provide safety, he has to provide a safe space, he has to provide support. The same way that I want that from a man, I want him to do that to me as well, and be that for me. And no matter what people say, relationships take work, they take effort, they take energy. And if I'm going to allot a certain amount of energy that I'm taking away from what I'm focused on, what I'm doing over here, then he has to be worth it. He has to be worth it. And again, decentering men doesn't mean that you don't date, because I still date. Like, I just went on a date over the weekend, but I quickly and more easily learn because I know my worth, because I'm focusing on myself. And the more I focus on myself, the more I am learning about myself, and the more I'm learning what I want. That first date, I can tell you if it's gonna work or not. Like, if I want a second date or if I want a third date. Of course, first date, you don't know if that's, like, I'm not monogramming towels the first date, but I can get a sense of and use my intuition to say, like, is this gonna really go anywhere? And if not, then I'm leaving it where it is. Great date, moving on. And I'm still working on feeling worthy enough for the type of man that I desire, because I know that I offer so much more than just financial means, and men aren't like looking for that from a woman. Like, at least not the man that I'm focused on. He's not looking for that from me. And so I made a list of exactly what I'm looking for in a man, and I remind myself, like, my man isn't gonna care about what car I drive. My man isn't gonna care about, like, how much my net worth. Like, those are things that I care about, because that gives me the sense of independence, that gives me the sense of financial freedom, that lays a foundation for me, that even if this doesn't work out, I'm always gonna be good. And I also realize the better that I am, and not just financially speaking, you know, financials are a part of that, and I'm a Capricorn, so duh, I care about that. But another part of it is just feeling like I'm always elevating. And the more I elevate and the more I level up, the better my options get, because I'm doing the inner work. And the more inner work that I do, the more that I reflect that in the outer world. Does that make sense? Like, the outer world's always going to mirror back to you how you feel about yourself. And that's going to be in your family, that's going to be in your friends, that's going to be in your clients, your career dynamic, like with your boss, like with your employee, like your employer, your whatever, anything. But just speaking relationships in this particular context, the men that you attract are going to be a reflection of how you feel about yourself. And I feel like sometimes God is going to test you with men that aren't on your level. And I feel like I was tested this year with a man who, on the outside, like, checked every box, but then realizing, like, oh, like, there are some things that don't fly with me in this era of my life. And that's okay. But I feel like if that's not it, then move on. Don't settle just because you're scared that another greater option is not going to come. There's always a better option, because if it's not this, it's something better. If it's not right for you, then move on and let that better come, and the better will come. The more you focus on yourself, the better your external world gets. And honestly, when you're pouring into a man versus pouring into yourself, it's just going to leave you feeling depleted, because like, anyone can sense that from you when you don't value yourself. And people don't always maliciously take advantage of that. There are people who are malicious and are playing that game of life. I always try to come from a genuine and well space, but not everyone operates that way. But even people who don't naturally operate from a malicious space, if you give someone an inch, they're going to take a mile. That's just a natural human behavior. So the more you pour into a man, the more he's going to expect that from you, but the less time you have to pour into yourself. And how does that actually make you feel? I realized that when I was supporting and encouraging a man in their career, and I wasn't focused on my own career and the success that I wanted and my dreams and my goals, that it really took the pressure off for me, and it took the fear of failure away. Because if I'm not even trying, then how could I fail? If I am supporting this man to the detriment of having the energy to do anything that I want to do for myself, then I felt like that was the best move, because I'm not fearing the worst. I'm not fearing failure that comes from trying something new, that comes from pursuing your dreams. So that's something to ask yourself too. Are you avoiding yourself? You're avoiding your goals. You're avoiding accomplishing and going after what you want by focusing on a man. And that's not always the case for everyone. Like, I just find myself to be a naturally supportive person, and that's with everyone. Like, a stranger one time told me, like, I wish I could put you in my pocket because you're just so positive. And I really pride myself on leaving people better than I found them. But you need to also make sure that you're being left better than you were before too by people. Like, it works both ways. And you can't, the more you avoid your destiny or what you really truly want, the more God is going to push things out of your life and show you, like, hey, like, this isn't for you. Hey, this isn't for you, until it's forced upon you. And that was really what happened with me. Like, I feel like both relationships I was forced out of, because initially, like, the first one for sure forced. The second one I was forced, and then, child, I went back for what? Ugh. But in both case scenarios, I was forced out because God was trying to show me, like, this isn't for you. You have other things that you're supposed to do in this lifetime. So ask yourself, what are you supposed to be doing in this lifetime? Is backing a man to the detriment of yourself really it? Is that all that life is made of? Or are you capable of more? And are you avoiding that by pouring into that man? Is the man the center of your world? Because the alternative is to really look deep within and ask yourself, what do I want out of life? What do I truly want? And is the progress that you could be making on the other side of that fear? And I never practiced that with the ex before, but my last ex, when we did get back together, I really did change things for myself. And I think me deciding to go back to that relationship after being forced out of it was because I was ready to learn other lessons about myself. And when I started to decenter him, and you can listen to the past episode, it's on you. I'm not on YouTube. It's on my podcast only. It's not on YouTube. But the episode about me breaking up with my ex before my 33rd birthday. But when I learned to decenter men, and in this case decenter him, and focus on myself, and every time I had a thought about what is he doing, or what if blah blah blah, like what if he's cheating on me, or what if he's doing me wrong, I would put that back on myself. I would say, okay, India, what do we got going on? What do we need to do? I lost like 15 pounds last year. And I just really decided, like, I'm going to take all the energy that I have put into this man and pour it into myself. And honestly, the less I cared about what he was doing or whatever it was, the stronger my boundaries got, the more freer I felt to be me, the more freer I felt to pursue the things that I really wanted, and the freer I felt to leave that relationship. And that's not saying that, like, you centering yourself will cause you to break up with someone. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like, if the relationship is healthy, then great. But if you need to assess how much energy you're pouring into him, then please do that. If you feel like, okay, I actually want to lose 15 pounds this year, or I want to have this amount in my bank account, or I want to buy this new bag, or I want to just set myself up for a better future, really think about how much time you're allotting to this relationship versus to yourself. And if it's an 80-20, baby, you got to make a change. If it's even, I'm not going to even say, like, if it's 50-50, that's a problem. But I really think that just like in a business, you always want to have like an upper hand. And that's like having a business where you have a 50-50 with someone, or that person owns 60% and you own 40. It's always going to benefit you more to pour more into yourself than into that person, because at the end of the day, the more you pour into yourself, the more energy that you have and to really value that person and that relationship. The more you are taking care of yourself, the more you're showing that man that, like, okay, like, she's taking care of herself, so let me step up. And again, that's not saying that your current partner does not step up, but it is, I wouldn't even say it's a known fact, But it is very true that the more you don't focus on a man and the more you have boundaries and you're just like, not mean, but just like you have boundaries, the more a man actually like wants you, honestly, because they're like, whoa, she had the spotlight on me this entire time and now she has a spotlight on herself, like, so therefore I should have the spotlight on her too. And the nicer you are to a man, sometimes we just inflate their egos and they just think, wow, I'm so great, like, wow, like how did I get so lucky, like I must be so great that she wants to do all of this stuff for me, versus really valuing and really being grateful for what we also bring to the table. And again, that's not for every man. Some men naturally are just great, right? But in general, those are the things that goes through a man's mind, because you feel that way too. When someone does something for you and they do a lot for you, you feel like, wow, I must be so great that they're doing this for me. Like, you're not thinking like, oh, I wonder if they have enough time for themselves. I wonder if they're taking care of themselves. Like, that's just not a natural automatic thought. You're just thinking how great it is that they're doing something for you. And I think women, we may not think so easily that way because I think we're just natural givers. We're natural, like we naturally want to nurture, but that's not a man's first inkling. And it might also be helpful for women when you are in a relationship to really make a list of how much you do for this man versus how much you do for yourself. And if that list is longer, the one you do for a man longer than what you do for yourself, maybe it's time to make a change. Maybe it's time to rethink and reanalyze, you know, what you really truly want and how you can change and shift the dynamic to make it work and make sense for you. And if in doing that, a man is going to chastise you or punish you or make you feel bad about it, if a man is like just like disgusted with you putting yourself first and it's like, but what about me? What about dinner? Why are they not on the table? Blase, blase, blah. I would rethink that too. And of course, I'm not here to, every relationship dynamic is different, but I know, and speaking for me, that I always poured more into a man than I poured into myself. And that is a no for me. And decentering men is not just about having more time for you and to focus on your goals and your ambitions and your dreams, but it also gives you more time to focus on your friendships, to focus on your family dynamics. It gives you more time to really hone in and figure out, what do I want out of life, right? And I think a lot of times in relationships, women can also tend to neglect their friendships, their family, because they love their partner. They feel like their partner is all they need. But again, what happens if you guys break up or you divorce or something bad happens to them? Like, what then? Are you just left with no one, not even yourself? Don't be left with no one, not even yourself. That is the worst case scenario. And if you're in that space, I'm sending you so much love, because you got to climb out of it. I know you will climb out of it. Like, you, if you're listening to this, you're a confident, smart, mature woman, and you're going to figure it out, because we always figure it out. And one thing I've learned, if I am anything, it is a master pivoter. I'm always going to pivot. I'm always going to figure it out. Decentering men is the best thing that a woman can do for her life. It gives you so much power and freedom. It just empowers you and gives you the space to dream bigger for yourself, to know that you can do this all on your own and that you don't need a man in order to make things happen for you. So I hope this episode was helpful. If you liked it, please leave a comment. Please like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're listening to this via Spotify or Apple, I would love a 5-star rating. I would love some comments, some feedback. And for you to share it with a friend on either platform and let them know that you found a great episode that they should listen to, that you think that they would resonate with, because the more that my podcast and my YouTube are shared, the more of an audience I have, and the more the algorithm loves me, and more people that resonate just like you can watch or listen to my content. As always, I'm wishing you guys a great weekend. Focus on yourself, not that man. Have a great one.